Okay, I am having a wonderful chat. Let me just fix a little something here so I can see my notes. Boom. I'm having well, an hilarious chat with the here we go. Get ready now, Hlif. With
That
the
was good. That was
Thank you.
good.
With the Thank you. She's just setting me up for the last name, which is even horrible, which is actually the first name. Something it's crazy. Anyway, we are those of us who are this side of the Atlantic are looking at Iceland. I am speaking with Hlif Sigurjons daughter, violinist. Pretty close. Okay, pretty close. Sigurjons daughter, violinist. Iceland. You were born in Norway, right? And then
No,
raised in.
I was born in Denmark.
Oh, Denmark. So sorry. Born in
Denmark.
Denmark and then raised, but basically you're an Icelander.
Icelandic. I'm Icelandic citizen.
Yeah. Okay. And so, are you near Reykjavik or where are you? What city are you near?
In Reykjavik.
Oh, you are Reykjavik. Thank you.
Reykjavik. Yeah.
See how she rolls the R's? Never, 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 never. I'll never get there. Anyway, we're going to be talking about her recording. It was recorded in 2008, as I understand it, and then re-released in 2016, something like that.
It was released 2008.
Yes.
But recorded, I was going through it because I never listened to my recordings, but
Really?
the partitas are recorded 2000, 2001, and 2002, and then
Amazing.
the sonatas are recorded 2007,
Okay.
all in 24 hours.
Okay, and here's what I'd like to speak to you about that. Thank you for that correction. But also, I receive all the time remarks from people, including artists, who put out the CDs. It's like, oh, well, I made that 3 years ago. It couldn't possibly be of any use to anyone. And I keep thinking, are you out of your mind? I mean, it's like saying, as I use my analogy, as Melville. Oh, I wrote Moby Dick in 1848. It can't possibly be worthwhile in 1879, sort of thing. So that's even more exciting to me because I had a feeling that, as you know from what I said incorrectly, that the recording that you're making of these recordings was not that far back. It was 2008. But wow. Okay, so this is really marvelous. Now I'm all thrown off and befuddled. And it's because, as you know, we spoke about it. I spoke recently with Stanley Ritchie, violinist, about his set. Of course, every violinist at some time, comes to grips with the solos that we're speaking about, the unaccompanied sonatas for violin and partitas for violin of Bach, sonatas, partitas, solo violin of Bach, and every violinist deals with these at some point or other. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. They're the Bible of the instrument, really, as you have said.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And if I may,
Sure,
I
sure.
wanted to tell you that in my reason for recording those things was it was my way of saying thank you to my teacher here in Iceland, and because I grew up on that music. When everybody else was playing Wieniawski concertos or Paganini, well, I played some Paganini, but I was playing Bach. And I realized when I came to Bloomington to study that I was able to play Bach and they all thought it was something scary. And
Ah,
and it was just like, well, that's just part of being a violinist. And then the story that goes before is that my teacher's 100 years birthday celebration, which didn't really was a celebration, but he was born in 1917. And 4 or 5 years ago, I realized, it's almost 100 years anniversary. And he's been forgotten. He died 1984. He became ill my last year studying with him, 74, 75. And then he was wrongly diagnosed and et cetera, and everything was like, so it was really quite a sad story.
what was his name? Let's make sure we give him credit.
Björn, Björn Ólafsson.
He was a
And he was
concertmaster of the Iceland
He was
Symphony,
the
yes.
first concertmaster of the Iceland Symphony, and the Iceland Symphony is founded in 1950.
Amazing.
And like I said, he's born 1917. At that time, there was only one Icelandic violinist who had gone abroad to study to play the violin. And he also his name was Þórarinn Guðmundsson, and he was born 1898. And he taught my teacher, Björn, 3 years. And then they founded the conservatory, the music school. And in 1929, there was a political decision that Icelanders should have an orchestra, because we didn't have any classical orchestra or anything. There were some few players. Most of them were foreigners that came, because it was between the wars on the continent. Musicians were having a hard time to get work, so they were here and playing gigs and things like that. They founded, so in 1930, there was the 1,000 years of Parliament celebration. Because according to the history, Iceland was settled in 930.
Interesting.
And so 1,000 years. And then for that 1,000-year celebration, there should be an orchestra. So they hired this Austrian, Franz Mixa, to come and teach and rehearse. So they could celebrate in 1930 the celebration on Þingvellir, where the old Althing was. And then they realized, we need to teach, we need to educate, we need to bring up musicians, and so we can have an orchestra. And so they founded the music school, the conservatory, in 1930. The radio was also founded in 1930. And they had these, here was this amazing vision time where it's like, yes, we need to do this and this and this and this and this, and then we can be as good as the Central Europeans. Yeah. For example, I did this series in Northeast Iceland, 2012 and 13, where I celebrated their love for the violin. So I did 6 concerts with just solo violin work. And one older man came to me after one of the concerts and said, the fiddlers here didn't play this music. I said, I know, but if they had lived today, they would.
Also, and I have a question coming about that, what you have just described. We're going to have to get back to Bach here pretty soon, or my half hour is going to be gone.
Well, but I wanted to say that the first classical violin comes to that northeast part of Iceland in 1851, the year when Schumann wrote his 2 sonatas. That's how far behind the classical music was in Iceland. So now back to my teacher. He goes to Vienna to study. He finishes 1939 and gets immediately, he's 21 years old, he gets offered the job at the Vienna Philharmonic with Furtwängler. And he comes home for a short summer holiday, which then the war starts in September 39, and he doesn't come out again. Now I'm getting to the part where I wanted to tell you.
Okay, good.
When I wanted to prepare this celebration of his 100 years, I realized, I need to get into the basement of the radio to listen to all those old recordings, because that was the concert hall. The musicians would go there and play live, or they would record and they had to produce their own classical music. And he founded a quartet, etc., etc. And I went into and I discovered the history. 1945, Adolf Busch and Rudolf Serkin came the first time to Iceland. And they did a Bach concert, not Serkin, but Adolf Busch, with a very small chamber orchestra. And I found the LP recording with that live performance. Wow. And I went upstairs to the guy and said, you don't know what treasure you have in the basement. You have a live recording of Adolf Busch, where he's doing the A minor, the E major concertos, and then the C major solo sonata live. And the guy just looked at me. He didn't even bother to ask, who was this guy? It was like, Anyway, but that visit had a major impact on my teacher, because 1947 he goes to New York to study with him, and he's there 10 months, and he goes through all the Bach solo sonatas and partitas with him, and that's where the Bach thing came. And
it took a long time to get there, but still.
Yeah, and my first edition of Bach were the Busch edition. So.
Okay, ready? It's time. I'm
ready.
gonna move us along here, which is I hope it's going to be parallel, which I was about to say about 30 minutes ago. Just kidding. That was fascinating, by the way. And remember, we have to tell everybody about the place that you are in. We can't let that get by. Okay, we've got to leave room for that. But I think we can touch on this because we are speaking about the great masterpieces, the sonatas and partitas that everybody kind of, I hope, sort of knows, even in my subscribers of music faculty and so on. So I don't think we need to go into great detail, but I do want to point this out, and I'm going to try and find Stanley Ritchie's quote, which is that I was flabbergasted with delight at how completely original and different your mind approached these sonatas and partitas, just as I was flabbergasted and blown away by the way Stanley Ritchie's mind approached them. And this is the beauty, is it not, of these sonatas, especially as Ritchie says, urtext. Don't let the editors get in the way of your own mind, of finding the music yourself. Yeah. Speak to that, will you? Because that's what I heard on your recording. It's a 2 CD set. MSR, I should mention, is the MSR Classics, the publisher. I'll put all that up on my website, performingartsreview.net. But speak to that, because that's what people don't expect to hear. That they're completely different and exciting and interesting in their own right.
Thank you so much. I listened to the interview you had with Stanley. And he got me thinking again, sort of how and why, and with the Baroque, and with that, and I'm grateful for the Baroque thought and thinking, because it broke up that sort of that extreme. To my knowledge, we've gotten too far away from the real sound of the instrument, which is like the vocal sound. The violin is so close to the human voice, and with the legato and everything, we're trying to imitate that. And I remember just as a student and my first years in professional lives, feeling pressured it has to be this way because everybody else is doing it this way. And for example, there's non-stop vibrato and sort of like, and then when I met Gerald Beale, he sort of gave me that freedom, because he thought I was great where I thought I was terrible, and because I felt like, well, I don't fit into what everybody else thinks is great, and I almost quit playing the violin because I felt like, because when I came up with some comments, well, I think artistically, if you had done this and this, and then people say, oh, you're so negative. And I was like, okay. Well,
they say that about me a lot, too. I'm trying to be helpful, and they say, oh, you're so negative.
Well, I think you're so positive. I listened to your video interviews. And then, what Jerry had learned from Heifetz. And it's something that Heifetz did not teach. But Jerry was fine enough a violinist before he went to study with Heifetz. He was in the class of Galamian, the first class of Galamian. And Galamian had the sense to leave him alone because he went his own ways. And Martineau wrote the 2 violin concerto for Jerry and his brother.
That I didn't.
They were a twin duo, right? But Jerry, he had a nervous breakdown there in this beginning of his 20s or 30s, and Primrose told him, hey, go and study with Heifetz. And so he did, and he studied with him 6 years. And I have many funny stories about Heifetz and how he was.
After I fly over and we have dinner over yes, cognac afterward, we'll do the stories.
I'll tell you all about it. And but when you think about Heifetz's playing, it's the bel canto playing of the violin, and it's like Jerry said, he never played loud, but the overtones always were so. He could cut through any orchestra, but his articulation was clean.
Yeah.
And then Jerry was able to analyze his bowing technique and figure it out. And that's what he taught me. And that just said, okay, it's how I want it to sound, so I'm going for it.
By the way, of the various people, including Stanley Ritchie and others, just one going up, a wonderful, fabulous choral director in Britain, they are all saying the same thing. Have the sense as a teacher to leave them alone. Let them find their way. You're there to nudge and tweak and maybe fill in a few lines.
And support and bring in the right things that you need to, just to see the light.
Now I've got to get on with my questions. I spent a lot of time on this. No, I didn't. I'm lying. We've talked about Stanley Ritchie. Let's see. What else have I got? You know, you think they're juicy and wonderful, and then you reread them and you think, ugh. But I guess what I'm trying to say is here's what I'm kind of interested in is the lessons of Bach, and how do they translate to? I'm thinking of the duo CD of modern Icelandic fiddle piano music. Is there any translation, or is it apples and oranges? What I mean, what are those lessons from Bach and from your teachers? How do they translate? It's actually a dumb question, but give me an answer.
No. But it's like, you know, the Bach is the Bible, and it's the root of common sense.
Oh, that was brilliant.
Wasn't it?
That was brilliant.
You know, and I start my day with playing Bach. And you know, one day I play all the last movements, you know, and then I'm gonna say, okay, I'm gonna get it this way, and then, you know, and then I do all the slow movements, and I do all the first movements, and then the fugues, and the, you know.
And how does that translate into some crazy esoteric Icelandic piece?
It somehow helps you put the meaning to the set of notes that you're getting.
That makes very good sense. I understand exactly what you've said.
And it's like, you know, it's architecture, it's structure. And it's like what Stanley was talking, it's like all those lines and stuff, and it's like, no, it's like the bass, there's the soprano, and there's these things here. What do you want to say? What's the most important note? What's the least important note? And then you make it, and then you have this beautiful entity, which is sort of like the dance of the music.
Exactly right. I hear you. Let me try and paraphrase, because I hope I understood correctly. But the bottom line is that the structure, the organization, the mathematics, the layering, the counterpoint, all of that in Bach helps you to approach a new work and figure those, because those structures are there if the music is good. Those very same kind of structures are there. Yeah.
Did you listen to the Sorceress, the sonata that Meryl Clark wrote for me?
You mean on the duo?
It's on the Dialogus, the solo CD. With Dialogus, where it's just solo works written for me.
No, I haven't. What I have is the duo.
You don't have the Dialogus?
No.
Hey, I'll ask him to send it to you.
Thank you.
Okay, he was supposed to send it to you because Meryl wrote that piece for me, 5-movement piece. He heard my solo recital in New York with 3 Bachs, and he went home. He was so inspired. He wrote this 5-movement piece, and even with that, the 5th movement is a shotgun.
And I'll do a dig, because the truth is he may have sent it. And what I do, of course, because I'm overwhelmed, really, trying to get caught up with everybody. But so I just put anything that is not necessarily on the docket goes into another step. But the question came to me about how this study of Bach influences, because I knew from the other CD that you did contemporary repertoire as well. So you've answered that question. Now to answer me this one, we're gonna get through this, because there's a very important moment coming. Tell me, and I don't want this to sound condescending at all, and you know me by now, I'm not a condescender. Here it is. Tell me about Icelanders as an audience, because and you may have alluded to it a little bit, what I see is a rural population, a farmland population, small villages, small places.
No, I think Iceland is very divided in the sense that, yes, there's small rural areas around the coast, the geography of Iceland is it's a big island, but the main population lives around Reykjavik. So it's about 200 something thousand that live Reykjavik and the nearby villages or nearby townships. They're not villages. And Icelanders are a very curious nation. They love to be entertained. They're great party goers.
It's so boring there when there are 22 hours of darkness for 6 months of the year. Yes, I can understand that.
But it is also, we were under Danish rule till 100 years ago, and they're celebrating.
I keep forgetting that.
And I always, when I'm frustrated, I find my countrymen too passive and do not react fast enough, because I like to react fast. I always say it's the colonial gene that's still there.
Oh, that's so mean of you. That's so evil.
It's like, we had a republic in 1944. And for democracy to really, for a nation that's been under a tyranny of some sort, it takes a while to learn how to be democratic,
Yes, of course.
And, you don't have to Google very far to find that there is corruption and there is things like, the Panama Papers, they were like so many hundreds of standards that had gotten the money out of the way, so they didn't have to pay to fellow to
the. And I've seen your Facebook site, and I think we are colleagues in that. You know that I'm living in the United States of America, which is extremely conflicted at the moment.
You forgot to sweep the leaves.
Yes, exactly right. But democracy is a tremendous responsibility, and as our Thomas Jefferson said, a passive, ill-educated public is the end of democracy. So
totally. And so that is what I would say. Now, it's a nepotypical society, where if you want it, we're small. So if you know someone high up, you can go directly and get it done if you know it as a friend.
Second cousin of a second cousin.
Exactly. But if you don't, the door is slamming in your face. And like you find on my website, if you go on the left side to the bottom, my teacher's name, and you click on my teacher's name, and then you can find 2 radio programs I did to celebrate his 100th birthday. I applied to do 7. I got 2.
Look, she's having at the government already on a public video. By the way, thank you for that, and of course your website's going to be up at performingartsreview.net, because it's all about getting people to see it.
Now we go back to the website of the museum.
Yes, please.
LSO, like London Symphony Orchestra, .is. Go and take a look, and there you will see I commissioned 3 works that were composed, inspired by 3 of my father's works.
You have done a perfect segue. First of all, you will send me an email about the proper address for the museum so I can get that up properly.
Yes, I'll do that.
But now it's time for the treat. I think we've talked Bach. Hlif is going to show us, please tell us about your father, the famous Icelandic artist. Go, it's your turn. Give us a tour.
Well, my father was born in 1908, and he went to Denmark to study and lived there 18 years. And he became like one of the Danes' leading sculpture artists in the time between in the war times and before the war. The art scene in Denmark at that time was very creative, and they were breaking away from the realistic art to the modern art and the Kepl. And they're actually celebrating today in Denmark 70 years since the Kepl was founded. He was part in Kepl, but not a member, because he did not only do abstract, he did also realistic. He was a great portrait artist.
And forgive my idiocy, but Kepl stands for?
Those were the modern, the group of modern painters, artists that were in Denmark at that time. And one of the famous ones is Asger Jorn. You might have heard of him. But like this is what he did in 1935.
This is your father, yeah?
This is my father. You see it? There it is.
There it is. There it is. Wonderful.
You see that?
Yes, fabulous. Does it have a title?
Yes, it's Children at Play.
Of course. Now it makes perfect sense. The soccer ball, presumably.
Yeah, exactly. And now the exhibition here, it's his colleagues, and I can't see it, but you see the hall, because that's what it's interesting. See the grand piano.
Yep. Of course, you give recitals here. Yeah.
Yes, we have summer concert series.
Nice.
That we have, and all four of us children, my brothers and I, we studied music,
yeah.
And we were three of us professional musicians. And
so the genes were good. Where'd you get all that musical gene? Who's responsible
from
for
my
that?
mother. From my mother.
Of course.
So this is what can I show you here? This is where we go into the cafeteria.
Oh, I like the poster. It looks like posters for exhibits back there on the wall.
Those are from
Let's have a look.
From exhibitions.
Oh yes.
You know the designer Finn Jur.
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
There was a collaboration between my father and him.
Uh-huh. Oh, there we go. Yep, I see. Aha.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead. Continue. Yep, there's a beautiful.
My father's.
Wow.
Exactly.
Fabulous.
And here are some of the publications. Can you see?
Yes.
That my mother and the museum has published.
And tell us the story about your mom, and tell us the story about the museum and its history, and your mom and what she did to preserve your dad's.
My father died in December '82, and left 300 artworks. And his studio was not in good shape, and here she was left with his national treasure. Priceless but worthless because there's no market. Mm-hmm. And so she decided that the only thing she could do besides throwing it all in the ocean was to found this museum and preserve it, and then make his works accessible to the public for the Icelanders and the foreigners, but mostly Icelanders. Icelanders are two-dimensional nation.
Here she goes again, getting herself in trouble. Go ahead, I can't wait.
Well, I think, because when you very seldom see three-dimensional artwork in the homes of Icelanders.
Interesting.
And, they're a literary nation, and that's two-dimensional.
Fascinating,
right?
Fascinating, yes, yeah.
And that's why they are more comfortable with something that is on the wall and not in the way.
That was beautiful, by the way, on the wall and not in the way. about dissing sculpture. It's in the way. If you can put it on the wall, I'll keep it. That's fascinating. Yeah.
And now we have we celebrated 30 years since my mother opened the museum. And we have the most incredible cafeteria.
Oh, but wonderful for commerce. Absolutely beautiful. It's also intimate.
It's nighttime, so you don't see the ocean, but it's right around here. When it storms, the waves come up.
Wow,
and it faces west, so we see the sunset. And this morning, the moon was there in pink glow.
Perfect.
No, it's a very special place.
And is it being supported by a foundation, or how does that work?
Well, it was my mother founded the museum, and then she formed a foundation or self-owned organization. Kind of thing, yeah. And then when she turned 80, she will now be 87 in December, end of December.
Bravo.
She turned 80. She said, well, after the crack, now back to politics. After the financial crash, the fundings from the city, especially the city, but also from the rest, was being cut down.
Yep.
So there was not enough money to make ends meet. I think we lacked like 8 million Icelandic kronas then, which is, today is not very much. So she decided to give the museum to the state. And today, we are very sorry.
I knew there would be an ugly duckling somewhere in there, and that's the state.
Yes, and that's just too bad. We tried everything we can.
But is the museum in danger, or is it just that the state is running it in a way that you're not happy with, something like that?
No, it's not being run the way we're going to submit an agreement, of course,
Yeah.
and the way we wanted, and we thought we hadn't written down, etc., etc. It's a long story. I will not go into it, but when you come, I'll tell you all about
Okay, over dinner and cognac. Oh, I love that. Okay,
Exactly.
Listen, we must cease. I could go on for hours. Obviously, you could tour the grounds in the dark, and I'd be thrilled. Let's see if I can get it again. Hlif Sigurjons' daughter. Many, many thanks. Oh, I'm getting closer, right? I'll be able to say thank you. Hello. Where is the bathroom? Okay.
It's very good.
Violinist. I can say, I think now, Icelandic violinist, for sure.
Well, I am very Icelandic, even if I'm
Yeah.
thinking of moving away. But
Oh.
I'm very Icelandic.
We'll talk about that over dinner and cognac, okay?
Yes,
But
definitely.
her incredible recording of the Bach unaccompanied partitas and sonatas, just mesmerizing performance, mesmerizing recording, mesmerizing venue, as I said to you, the sound, the quality in that little wonderful, oh, I guess it's a large church, in that church, but it's just beautifully captured. I'll put all that up at performingartsreview.net, and I promise I'll follow with a little, I'm calling them my remarks now, these days rather than a review, but I'll put up 3-4 paragraphs of a kind of a
Thank you,
review.
Daniel.
Okay.
I'd love to read what you think about it. And now I can't wait to record them again because I've become better.
Oh, hello. See? There you go. They grow on you, huh? All right. Well, what a pleasure
Okay.
chatting with you. We will see
Thanks
you
for-
another time.
Yes.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye, Daniel.